This conference will now be recorded.
All right, good afternoon and welcome to the Clear Lines training session. I am your host, Kipp Cohen. Today is Tuesday, the 8th of June, 2021, here for the next just under 60 minutes to answer your questions about the Clear Lines indicator running on the MedVed Trader platform. This is a twice weekly training session every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 o'clock Eastern. Today's session is being recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube page. You can get to that by going to the equity-alerts.com website and clicking the YouTube link at the top of the page. In today's session, we have a few topics we're going to be covering. We're going to be covering how to load a layout from the library, how to create a new chart. We're going to review the indicators that we use, and if we have time, we will go over chart trading. If you have questions, you could submit them through the GoToMeeting chat box. If you have questions outside of this session, you're welcome to email me, kip@equity-alerts.com, or call or text me at 972-841-8886, or join me back here on Thursday at 3 o'clock Eastern. So let's first go over the layout library. So for newbies using MedVed Trader with Clear Lines for the first time, it will automatically start up with one of the layouts from the library, which is the swing position. So this layout I'm going to load up. When you start for the very first time, this is going to be the layout that is going to load for you. This is a basic layout that, hold on 1 second. Actually, that should have loaded just like that. Oops, shouldn't be on Bitcoin. This is a basic layout that gives you a historical chart, which you have on the upper right, and a intraday chart on the lower right side. And you can view the daily chart, the monthly, day, week, and monthly chart. Now I have shortcuts on my quick access toolbar, and you can add those by putting your mouse over. If you want to add a day, you right click and select add to quick access toolbar, and then you do that again for the week. Go down, select week, right click, add to quick access toolbar, and then for the month. So I've already done that. So I have the ability to switch quickly through those 3 time frames. You'll find that with MedVed, most of the functionality you can add by right clicking and allowing you to create shortcuts or additions to the quick access toolbar. So this is the layout that you will see when you're first loading up MedVed with Clear Lines. This is a modular program, which means that the windows can be moved around. You can create kind of endless number of layouts. I've got in the library a couple different layouts for pre-built for our users. The upper left is going to be what's called your watch list or portfolio list, depending on the format you want to view it in. This allows you to view a list of stocks So as you can see, I have multiple watch lists, and I have them in different formats. This is portfolio view. You can right click on the header and select the column chooser to add and remove different columns. If you click on one of the symbols with your mouse, left click, it'll load that on the overview on the charts. So we've got the historical of ABMD and the intraday chart. Just by clicking. And then if there's any news stories on that symbol that you've selected, you'll see the news stories underneath. And then you will also have access to the dashboard where there are access different components of the software to be able to open or edit portfolios or create a new portfolio. You can do that from here, either the simple portfolio like this or the watch list format, which is like this. This is watch list format. Let's see. So the clear lines indicator is a momentum-based indicator that measures buying and selling momentum based on key technical data points, price, volume, and tick data. And you'll notice there are arrows on the charts. Those are trend direction change arrows that will pop up when the trend is changing direction, and once the interval closes and confirms it, it'll lock in place. So while it's intra time period, so if you're on a 10-minute, if it's within the 10-minute, if that you can see a arrow sometimes pop up and then disappear. Once it completes the time frame, if the arrow is there at the completion, then it does not go away. So these are all arrows that were there at the close and then locked in place. I like the arrows for a visual confirmation of a trend direction, change in trend direction, or a continuation move. Sometimes you'll get a continuation. You will occasionally get some false, you can get a short crossover and then a cross back like right here, where you got a down arrow and then it turned around and gave another up arrow. But they're very helpful to be able to visually see those. So this is again, for a newbie, this is what when you first open up your MedVed Trader for clear lines, this is the layout you're going to see. Now, if you're going to trade more actively, you won't want to use this layout. This is a great layout for those that are swing traders and position traders. If you want to just quickly, review the trend of a stock, month, week, day, and then you're looking intraday for a entry for a swing, then this is the layout you'll want to use. If you're going to trade more actively, like what we like to do, then you'll want to use the active layout. So if you click on, now you can go a couple different places. You can go to the top left corner where the watch list is at. You can also go down to the dashboard. You can access the dashboard also from your taskbar. You'll see it right here. And then click File. So either place, click Load Layout Library, Layout Library. So this will load the layout library. And then you will see, in addition to some of the MedVed layouts, which are in here, the first two are MedVed, and then the next three are clear lines, and then there's a crypto one. So there's three different clear lines layouts. There's the one that starts up like for swing position. There's a 8 interval one. Let's click on that one. This is for somebody that wants to watch one stock on 8 different time frames. That's a swing position trader. So this will give you pretty much every chart you could ever need. A month, week, day, a 130, a 60, 30, 10, and 2. This would be similar to the old Wise Trade 8 intervals layout. So I really don't use this anymore. I created this initially for those that were wise traders that were trying, wanted to be able to see 8 time frames, and it has become kind of archaic for us now. All right, so now let's go to the active layout. So go back to the layout library, and then you'll see Clear Lines Active Trading. So this is recommended for the active. And I'm actually going to go ahead and load my saved version of this because it's a little different, but ultimately about the same. So actually, I'll go back. Let me go back to that layout because there's something we need to do. So when you do load that layout for the first time, I don't know why this is not pulling up the index, but there it is. Okay. First thing you're going to want to do is you're going to need to squinch down some windows. The lower chart, you want to squinch that down. You don't want to have it so big. All right, so we're going to squinch down. This is a commodity channel, modified commodity channel index that we use. So squinch that down. And then once you've got the layout the way you like it, and it should auto fit to your window. Once you've done that, you need to save the layout, okay? You want to save it, so click File, Save Layout, and then pick a name, whatever you want to call it, active layout, or for me, it's called my magic layout, but name it and then save it. Okay, that way you can retrieve it easily without having to reload from the layout library. At some point, you may have interest in building multiple layouts. If you have multiple monitors, you may want to do that as well. So this active layout is what we use every day when trading actively. There's a half-minute chart, a 1-minute chart, a 2-minute, and an 8-minute. The 8-minute is more of a pure clear lines chart, and then it does have a HMA, a 34-period HMA on it, but pretty much it's just clear lines HMA and then the commodity channel index. The commodity channel index down at the bottom, we use that as a visual for determining trend. Okay, so it helps us determine when we're in good uptrends and when we're moving into good downtrends. Again, it's just I like it as a confirmation more than anything, and it's a good visual because if you're going to short, obviously you want to see everything moving into the red on the CCI. If you're going to be long, you're wanting to be in the green. So like here was a very good spot to go long. By the way, if you want to expand a window, right in the middle, there's a little maximize. You can maximize if you want a full view of one chart. So you'll notice right here, this little area we got to, and then we broke out. This is a volume weighted average price. This is another indicator that we like to use. We'll talk a little bit more in detail about indicators here in just a moment. But so when it broke the above that volume weighted average price, and then you'll notice the clear lines crossed up, got an up arrow right here, and CCI was green. So this was a good spot to get long right in here because everything kind of came together. Up arrow, crossed over VWAP. Actually, this green line's a high of the first 5 minute, and green CCI. That was a go to get long. Okay, so actually, we'll go through all of the indicators we use now, and then we'll show you how to create an additional chart. So we do use a handful of indicators. The core behind what we trade off of is the clear lines, the momentum indicator that measures buying and selling momentum. This was created based off of the old Wise Trade algorithm that measured buying and selling momentum. So not perfectly as smooth because the charting package that Medved uses does not have a smoothing feature in it that Wise Trade used to use. So there are occasionally some sharper points, but overall, it does perform extremely close. When you get an arrow, again, that's usually a confirmation of lines. It's a confirmation of lines crossing or bouncing, so a continuation move. So like I said, this is a very clean, pure chart. Clear lines plus one of our moving averages called an HMA. I don't usually actually on this chart, I don't use it specifically on this chart anymore. If you want to delete a certain indicator, you can right click and go to add edit indicators. Let's say, or if we want to hide it, we can just right click and hide the indicator. So now we're just the pure clear lines and the CCI. The CCI is a modified commodity channel index that I kind of played around with and modified the settings. We use a 9 period, high plus low plus close plus open divided by 4. And then we're looking at weak or strong being above or below 0. And so that if it's above 0, it's green. If it's below, it's red. So look at this as basically just confirming this. It's confirming. You'll notice many times when you get arrows is when it shifts. So when you get a down arrow and then it goes red. Get an up arrow, it goes green. Get a bounce, continues green. But the, a down arrow turns red. Continuation, down, stays red. So it's a very good confirmation of that. We use the 8 minute as an intraday foundation light. So when you're trading actively, you want to be within the intraday, ideally within the intraday foundation. So you want to try to go long through periods of up cycles. You want to go short through periods of down cycles. You can try to trade off the tops and bottoms. It just ends up being a little riskier trade. And I do have on our website under the blog, the external blog, we have an internal and external blog. Here's a training video on our core trading strategies. There's also a PowerPoint presentation and screenshots of everything that goes through the layouts, all the indicators we use, and then the different strategies that I've basically named. We have a reset in trend, long or short. We have a reset counter trend, longer short. We have an inception, and then we have poppers and droppers. And then I've kind of graded given risk levels. So reset in trend would be when you're looking at an 8-minute and it's in an uptrend, and then it gives a pullback, and then you get back into that same trend. You go back into the direction, go long. That's a reset long. A counter trend trade would be trying to short off the top, which could also technically be an inception, a beginning of a reversal, higher risk trade. And then the poppers and droppers are the high momentum trades we do at the open, the big gainers and losers that we go counter trend of the day. So so the 8-minute is going to be your core chart to look at, to see, you know, what's going on for the day. So Apple ran up at the open, pulled back, went sideways, and then started running. That's our intraday trend cycles. And then we focus on the half minute, 1 minute, and 2 minute to help get us in and out of our active trades. So the 1 minute chart, and they all use the CCI, the Commodity Channel Index. That's on all the charts. They all have the clear lines. If you right click on the chart and go to add edit indicators, you'll see all the indicators we use. So on the half minute, we have volume, obviously for each half minute. Clear lines, we have pivot points. These are daily pivot points. We have demarc pivots, which are based on daily. It's another type of pivot, and Fibonacci pivots. These are also another type of daily pivot point. There's something called opening range, which is the 5 minute. It's the high low of a first 5 minute, and that's a dashed line. The volume weighted average price, which is based on daily information. So it's going to be the same on each chart. There could be a slight variance. And then we have two different HMAs, which are called whole, HULL, moving averages. We have an 8 HMA, which uses an SMMA. And then we have a 34 HMA, which uses a 34 EMA. So the HMA uses different types of moving averages. So this is all from stuff that I worked on and developed and found kind of a mix. These HMAs are good for keeping you in moves longer and seeing where there's clear reversals. So again, you've got your clear lines that are running through the candles basically. And then underneath, when the trend's moving up, you have HMAs that are green. When they roll over, they turn red. So like right here, when both HMAs went red, that was a pretty good confirmation of a down cycle. We already confirmed it right here with the down arrow and the CCI. We reconfirmed it. Actually, the quicker 8 HMA confirmed it first, and then the 34 came behind it. But all these do are, we're just trying to get the strongest confirmation of trend changing. When we're trading actively, we want to see a clear picture, and this is what gives us that clear picture. And then you'll notice different, like FR2, that's Fibonacci resistance. Actually, that's FR3, and then there's R2 behind it. They're sitting on top of each other. Because here's FR2, there's R1, DMH, DMC, Fib pivot. These are all different levels. We use those levels as guides to help us see where a stock might go to. And you can see like right here where the Apple rolled over, it hit Fib resistance 3 and R2, and then bounced up, hit it again, bounced up, and then finally broke it. And then we're at VWAP, and then the green dash line is the first 5 minute high. So on this chart, if you go to view, you'll see it says extended hours current day. What that means is it's pulling data to do all the calculations for these daily charts based on prior day intraday data. It does look at, as far as this morning, if you scroll backwards, you'll see pre-market quotes, pre-market trades for the current day. And that's for at the open, so we can see what happened in the morning. But for calculating daily pivots, it's in daily fibs, Fibonacci pivots and DMARC pivots, it's strictly using the intraday data. DMARC has 3 points, the DMARC high, the DMARC low, and the middle. And then the daily pivots and Fibonacci pivots have 3 different levels. Well, technically, but they have pivot point or fib pivot, and then R1, R2, R3, or Fibonacci 1, 2, or 3, and then support 1, 2, and 3, or Fibonacci support 1, 2, and 3. So you have the pivot point, and then the 3 above and 3 below for both of those. On the 1 minute chart, you'll notice if you click view, it says extended hours always. So what this chart does is when it's calculating the high and low for the day, which is used for the different pivots, it uses pre and post market data because we have always checked. So FR1 is on this chart is not always going to be the same as FR1 on this chart because one takes into consideration all the pre and post market trading and the other doesn't. So there could be variances. We do that because it just lets us see both sides of the story, okay? Because sometimes it goes to one and not the other, and sometimes it goes to the other and not the first. So there's a flip back and forth, but it lets us see it. So in essence, these two charts do have the same indicators. This one has an additional 34 EMA, but everything else is all the same. And then the opening range on this is a 15-minute versus a 5-minute. So there's a couple slight variances. So the 1 minute has this 34 EMA, and actually we also have an 89 that we look at. That's on my other chart. Let me load. I want to load because this chart has a couple additional changes. This chart has, in addition, this blue line, which is an 89. The 89 EMA and the 34 EMA are one of our clients, Fret, uses them on the 1 minute, and they are, again, good points of reference to where something may go to, because we're always we're looking for where will the stock go to? Where does it have the potential to get to? We need points of reference, where to set targets, where to move stops. So the 1 minute has the 15-minute opening range. That's the dashed lines here, the green and red. This is the first 5-minute opening range. So if you go back to the beginning of the day, you'll see that first 15-minute high and low right here. That's what that indicator measures. And then right here is, if you go back to the beginning of the day, there's the range for the first 5 minutes, the high and the low. The 2-minute chart, so this is where it gets a little different. Instead of daily pivots, we use weekly pivots on the 2-minute chart. So if you go to the add edit indicators, you'll see pivot points W weekly, DMARC pivots W weekly, Fibonacci pivots W weekly. And then this one has the 2 HMAs, the VWAP, the 5-minute opening range, and then I have a 20 period and a 200 period SMA on this chart. So again, a little variance. We like to look at the weekly pivots on this chart to give us an idea. It provides us an additional layer of what I call magnets, where stocks will gravitate towards. And when you get two of them close to each other, like this is a huge magnet, like right here, R1, FR2, and then you've got right here the 200 SMA. So this is a big magnet. This is what probably dragged that price action down to this level. That was the magnet. So if I was looking at daily pivots, right, there's no, they're not, like right here, there's none underneath it. There's none here. So the weekly was the magnet, and weekly levels are big levels, because that takes, it's based off a weekly chart versus a daily. So those are more powerful. And then we have the volume weighted average price, and that's the same on each chart. It's going to be the same. It's because it's based on daily information. So it's a gauge of kind of if you've heard the term reversion to the mean, that's kind of, the volume weighted average price is kind of the mean average volume weighted price intraday. So stocks tend to move to that. They go up above it and below it, but tend to come back to it or through it multiple times throughout the day. So what we do is when we're looking for, like if we're going to short off a top, we typically like to know that we've got at least 1% or $1 to VWAP, because there's a high probability it's going to get to it and bounce. And sometimes it, like right here, it just goes through it. But we want to make sure we've got room. You wouldn't want to short, right into it. You want to wait to see if it breaks it, but you want room. You want space. So kind of as a rule of thumb, I've picked 1% or $1, depending on the price of the stock. When you get up in the higher price stocks, then you could just say $1. But when you get into the lower price stocks, you need at least 1%. 1% or $1. So those are the indicators that we use, and there's a little bit of a learning curve, but and then there's one other one, sorry, that it wasn't on the other layout that we've added in. This is this green section right in here. If you right click and go to edit indicators, it's called supply and demand zones. This is actually an indicator that the MedVed team created for on our request. My partner Jim Chanel had found this supply demand zone indicator on another platform and really liked it. MedVed didn't have it, so we asked them if they could recreate it. So they recreated it. And we use it on the 1 minute chart, and it think of it as buy and sell zones, basically. When it gets up into the red, that's where it creates that sell zone right up here. And when it gets into the green, that's the buy zone. It's typically where the buying comes back in. Selling them, I look at it as a intraday support and resistance more than anything. But Jimmy loves them and uses them pretty regularly. So we kind of use a blend of everything just to help guide us. It's following a plan, following rules. And all these different indicators really just give us that roadmap to help guide us, help us see where things are going to. At the end of the day, really the most critical component is going to be your money management. Cutting losers, letting the winners run is important. We all know from experience what can happen if you don't cut a trade. It happens to all of us at some point or another. Sometimes you have to wait it out. Sometimes you got to cut it and take the loss. That's just part of trading. So I did want to talk about the different the ability to create a new chart. So let's say we're using this layout and you have multiple monitors and you want to duplicate this specific layout on another monitor. Okay. So you'll notice, see these blue push pins? That's the symbol linking. What that does is if I click up here in my watch list on Facebook, that's going to load Facebook. And it loads it on all these charts because they're all linked by the same blue push pin. And that you'll notice that up at the top, my watch list has the blue push pin. So these are all linked together. So if I want to create a whole new grouping of 4 charts and I want to link them together, but a different color, because then I'll just see the same stock over and over. So what you would do is go to each chart individually, click main, click new chart, click same as this. What that's going to do is that's going to create an exact duplicate of this chart. But then you have to change the symbol linking. So we're going to go red. All right, so now if I type on the keyboard over that chart Apple, so it's now going to load Apple here, but not underneath. So now I have a new chart of a half minute. It's identical. It's got all the indicators that were on that chart. Now, if I want to do the same thing on the 1 minute, oops, main, new chart, same as this chart. And then I'm going to go right here and switch that to red. Watch what happens when I switch to red. It's going to change to Apple. Okay. So what I can do is move this over to a new window. If I have multiple charts, multiple monitors, I can create a whole nother grid of 4 charts. So I'm gonna move this over. I have another monitor. I'm gonna move it over to my monitor far off to the right. I'm gonna load that and that, and then I'm gonna put in also. Actually, I'm gonna do it up. Yeah, and then I'm gonna do the same thing on the 2 minute main new chart, same as this chart, and then switch to red, and it'll switch to Apple, and I'm gonna shove that over to the other monitor, and then same for this main new chart, same as this, switch to red. Now I'm going to move that over. So now on my other monitor, I have a whole nother grouping of charts. And once I've done that, I need to save the layout. So I need to click save layout and I need to rename it because now this is a totally new layout. So I would call this, we'll call it active layout for 2 stocks, active layout for 2 stocks. By the way, I forgot to mention something. When you're loading from the library, when you're loading a layout from the library, if you have multiple monitors, you can pick which monitor you want to load to. I forgot to mention that earlier. If you click the identify button, it's going to identify your monitors. Okay, see how that one pops up? So monitor 1, monitor 2, monitor 3, monitor 4. So if I want to load a new layout on monitor 3, I could do that and then select monitor 3. It'll load it on that other monitor. You can pick, but the key is you have to save it, the layout. Again, you have to resave the layout once you've moved it to another monitor. You always need to resave. Every time you make an adjustment to your layout, if you make any changes that you want to keep, you need to save it. It will remember like anything you do, but if you change the layout, it won't remember unless you save it. It always just reverts to whatever the last thing you had open, even if you make some changes. But if you reload, it's going to reload to however you last saved it. So I don't need the multiple monitor layout now. So I'm going to go back to the Magic layout because that's just on one monitor. Any questions so far? Any questions? Okay, the last topic I want to cover for today is chart trading component of the software. The great thing about MedVed traders, they are linked to multiple brokers. So if you go into the dashboard and click on settings under trading accounts, you'll notice that there's a list of brokers. Ally Invest, AMP Global if you trade futures. There's a Binance for crypto, Choice Trade, Coinbase. There's an Italian Directa, E-Trade. E-Trade, the only problem with E-Trade and Fidelity is that you can view your account and make trades, but you have to get data. You have to power the software from another source because E-Trade and Fidelity don't share their data through third parties for some reason. All right. So you would either need an account with a broker that like IB or TD Ameritrade that shares their data, or you would need a third party data provider. If you trade futures, there's Gain Capital, there's a couple more cryptos, Interactive Brokers, Optimus Futures, Quest Traded for Canadians, Rhythmic, Robinhood, if you've got a Robinhood account, TD Ameritrade is which a lot of us use. I use TD to power my charts, but I can trade through any broker. I don't have to trade through TD necessarily. I can pick any one, but I can use TD quotes, Tradier, and then Webull. And so, and you can have multiple accounts loaded. You can load in multiple different trading accounts, right? You can trade from different accounts. You can switch from one account to another and trade in between the accounts. And then you can chart trade. So you go to trading and then select enable chart trading. There are some settings you may need to select for each account. Is going to have specific settings. So you'll want to go in and select your trade size, your order settings. There's all kinds of different settings you can change and adjust. And then you can execute directly on the chart. So let's see if we can find something we can use as an example. May be tough right now. We're kind of near the end of the day. Anybody know of anything that could be interesting right now? Twilio here. We'll just, oops, do it real small. So you select the number of shares, and this is, so you can either go trading and then select your shares here, or as I've done, I right click and add that to the quick access toolbar. So 10 shares, let's say I'm going to short, so I hit sell, and then I stage the order first. When I click the mouse, it stages it. And then when I'm ready to place the order, I click check. And then when I hit the check, it'll execute the trade with the broker. I'm not going to execute this at this point, but if I wanted to, I could hit that and it would execute the trade. By the way, you'll notice these all are set to 100 bars, which means 100 intervals. This is set to 50. So it's 50 bars going across, 58 minutes. This is 100, 102 minutes, 101 minutes, 100 half minutes. You can change it if you want. 50, whatever you're comfortable with. 200 if you want to see a lot, kind of scrunches up. I like 100, 100, 100, and then 50. Um, Here, let's go to choice trade account. I haven't used choice trade in a while. All right, so let's say we're going to put a trade in here. All right, this is my choice trade demo. All right, so short 10 at 318.57, and then if I want to set a limit, I can set a limit to buy it back. I could set a stop, or if I want to just bail out and take profit, I can flatten the trade. For some reason, I don't think their system's been working real well. See, if I put a limit at 317.71, it's probably just going to execute it. Possibly. See, I don't know what's up with their system. It's like totally jacked up. I bought it their system's messed up. That would be nice if you could actually do that in reality. Um, yeah, something's messed up with their demo system. But anyways, you can trade directly from the charts. You'll see your entries and exits, and kind of that's how you do it. You can also right click and trade from same right here, or you can click trade and that'll open a trade ticket. And then you can pick which account you want to trade out of. And then same thing, you can pick the number of shares. I want to short. So you can short. So you can do it either way. There's multiple ways to enter trades. And then if I just want to bail out, I can hit the flatten button and that'll instantly send a market order. If you're short, it'll be a market to buy. If you're long, it'll be a sell. And it'll cancel any open orders. So if you had a limit sitting out there or a stop, it's going to cancel that order and then fill the trade. Any questions so far? Any questions? Got about 10 minutes left in the day. So we covered today how to load layouts from the library. We went through all the different indicators that we use. We went through how to create a new chart, duplicating one of the existing, and then we covered chart trading. There are, by the way, yeah, we've kind of gone through and there's a ton of indicators on the MedVed platform. There's upper and lower indicators, separate chart or intra chart, and I mean, there's probably about a couple hundred. I've been through a lot of them. I haven't looked at every single one, but I feel like the ones we have selected are good. I'm always open to suggestions. If anybody thinks, there's something else out there that might help us, um, somebody not familiar with Synwave, Shaft Trend Cycle. There's just so many different ones. I think at some point it becomes kind of overload, and I feel like we're kind of almost to that. We have a lot as it is, but what we have works. So I don't want to really change what we have, um, because I'm very happy with it. So let's, I put in this short. Let's talk about, so how do we look for profit targets? One of the things I discussed is, we want to look at what's our potential. So VWAP is always a good volume weighted average price. So we notice that could be our target right down here. That from our last entry, 318.48 is $1. That's exactly $1. That's what we want to see, at least $1 or 1%. So $300 stock, 1% would be $3. That's not going to be reality, but if we can get $1 out of it, that's a good trade. And that's realistic. So there's a high probability. It's already broken the 300 EMA, so now we're at the 89. I'm sorry, the 34. This is the 34. These are fib numbers. 34 and 89 are Fibonacci numbers. So we've broken the first one. We're about to break the next one, and then we would have a target down at volume weighted average price. You can, if you need to squinch charts, you can put your mouse over the price, hold down with your left button, and then scroll up and down to squinch to see the different levels. You need to see different levels. You can squinch it. But you can see look where we're at right now. We've landed right on that 89 EMA. So hopefully, oh, there we go. We're almost to our target. We're almost to VWAP. So what I would do is when we get to VWAP, I would just hit the flatten button and take the dollar profit. No, you could just have a limit sitting there also. Should get there. It could bounce. We get a little end of the day buying. You could just punch out. Got close enough for horseshoes and hand grenades, right? You just punch out. And then there's our trade. So, and you can see when we got it, actually when we got in, it had already rolled down. So the two HMAs were already red. The clear lines had initiated the first red arrow here. We had a second red arrow just after we got in. That's on the 1 minute. Let's go to the half minute. So again, HMAs were already red. We had a down arrow, multiple down arrows here and here. So, and the CCI was red. So that actually was a good spot to get in. And then look where we bailed out right when the CCI moved right from red back into the green. So that was a good exit. So CCI was in sell off, and then it started creeping up, and that was our cue to get out. The turn of the CCI. Let's look at the 2 minute real quick as well. So we had our red down arrow back here, first down arrow, HMA pretty much both HMAs were red when we entered right here. And then boom, came down. CCI was already starting to bounce back. So we just got just shy of, so sometimes they get pretty close to the VWAP. Sometimes they go through it. Sometimes they don't. That's why you got to be prepared to bail out, because sometimes they don't quite get there, or they bounce up and then roll over like it's doing right now. All right, guys, there's just a few minutes left in the trading day. I think we'll call it a day here unless you've got some questions. I am here every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 o'clock Eastern. You're welcome to come back. And as I said, this session was recorded, will be posted to our YouTube Equity Alerts YouTube page, which you can get to from going to equity-alerts.com and then clicking the YouTube link at the top. I want to thank you for tuning in. And again, here's the information for future training sessions. And if you need to contact me, Kipp@equity-alerts.com. Hey, Paul, you're very welcome. Thanks, guys. Have a great evening, and I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.